Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Could you do me a favor? There's a little pamphlet right under the mixer there. Could you bring that to me? Today we are doing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 8, Questions by King Parishit, verses 4 and 5. It's under the actual device. You have to lift it. You have to lift the device. No, the tuner. Yeah, that's the tuner. Thank you very much, Jayo. So the setting that we come upon here is we have questions by Maharaj Parishit to Sukadeva Goswami. So the verse is, these verses here are exactly the same verses that we chant before Bhagavatam. They're recited before the Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatyam vyasam tato jaya udaratyat. Now this we're going to be comparing because it's telling us the same thing in these verses, that these verses 4 and 5 are going to be revealing to us. So Srimad Bhagavatam 2:8-4, we're going to do 4 and 5, but in 2:8-4, we'll be doing the word for word now. I mean, just chanting it. Shrinvata Shradaya Nityam. Shrinvata Shradaya Nityam. Grinatascha Grinatash cha svachestitam. Grinatash cha svachestitam. Grinatas cha svachestitam. Kalena nati dirgena. Kalena nati dirgena. Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. How is this, the song of it? You've got good tonal memory. How do we chant it in the melody? Yes.
Well, this one's actually, they're smaller verses in the last chapter. So that was fine you did it because
Shrinvata Shradaya Nityam. Right. Shrinvata Shradaya Nityam. Grinatas Chasvachestitam. Kalena Nati Dirgena. Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. Shrinvata Shradaya Nityam. Grinatas Chasvachestitam. Kalena Nati Dirgena. Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. Shrinvata Shradaya Nityam. Grinatascha Swachestitam. Kalena Nati Dirgena Bhagavan Vishate Hridi Pravista Karnarandrena Pravista Karnarandrena Swanam Bhavaso Saruruham Swavanam Bhavasaruruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yata Sharat Shalilasya Yata Sharat Pravista Karnarandrena Swanambhava Saruruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yata Sharat Pravista Karnarandrena Swanambhava Saruruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yata Sharat Pravista Karnarandrena Swanambhava Saruruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna. Wait, I'm definitely confused. Go ahead. So Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yata Sharat. Word for word, Srinvata, of those who hear, Shradaya, in earnestness, Nityam, regularly, always, Grinnata, taking the matter, Cha, also, Swachestitam, seriously by one's own endeavor, Kalena, duration, Na, not, Atidirgena, very prolonged time, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Vishate, becomes manifest, Hridi, within one's heart, Pravista, thus being entered, Karnarandrena, through the holes of the ears, Svanam, according to one's liberated position, Bhava, constitutional relationship, Sararuham, the lotus flower, Dunoti, cleanses, Shamalam, material qualities like lust, anger, avarice, and hankering. Krishna, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Salilasya, of the reservoir of waters. Yata, as it were, Sharat, the autumn season. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagawatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, manifested in their hearts within a short time. So I want to thank everybody here that's getting the manifestation of Krishna in their hearts in a short time. Everyone here is regularly hearing the personification of Srimad Bhagavatam through their ears. This is Krishna, sound, Shuddha sound, Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, repeat. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, and this is interesting, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship. It's like offering the Lord a place to sit. Here's your space, here's your place to sit, and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water. Absolutely beautiful. Cheap devotees or materialistic devotees of the Lord are very much desirous to see the Lord personally without meeting the requisite qualifications. Such third-grade devotees should well know that material attachment and seeing the Lord face to face cannot go together. It is not such a mechanical process that the professional Bhagavatam reciters can do the job on behalf of the third-grade materialistic pseudo-devotee. The professional men are useless in this connection because they are neither self-realized nor interested in the liberation of the audience. They are simply interested in maintaining the material establishment of family attachment and earning some material benefits out of the profession. Bhagavat reciters that are not doing it because they're developing love of Krishna, they're doing it because they're getting an income. So Maharaj Pariksit had no more than 7 days to live, but for others, Maharaj Pariksit personally recommends that one hear Srimad Bhagavatam Nityam, always, by one's own effort and with serious devotion also. That will help one to see Lord Sri Krishna manifested in one's heart. Now here, there's a picture of Maharaj Pariksit at the end of 7 days, and the snake bird is coming. You see this picture here? The snake bird is coming. So the point that Maharaj Pariksit, he saw Krishna in the womb. Next picture. And up till the very last day of his life, 7 days, he sat in rapt attention listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, listening to the pastimes of the Lord. So he spent his whole life from womb to the last moment wrapped in the attention of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the goal. He's setting such an example for us. And he was a king on top of it all. So Srila Prabhupada says here, the pseudo-devotee, however, is very anxious to see the Lord according to his whims, not making any serious effort to hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and without detachment from material benefit. That is not the way recommended by an authority like Maharaj Pariksit, who heard and benefited by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the mantra I continually say is, what is the duty of a man who is about to die? And we are all about to die. We're so many years into it, and it means less is going on. Let it be. Let it be for Krishna. Let it be hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So verse 5 purport, Prabhupada says, it is said that a single pure devotee of the Lord can deliver all the fallen souls of the world, all of them. Thus, one who is actually in the confidence of a pure devotee, like Narada or Sukadev, and thus is empowered by one spiritual master, as Narada was by Brahmaji, can not only deliver himself from the clutches of Maya or illusion, but can deliver the whole world by his pure and empowered devotional strength. The comparison of the autumnal rains that fall on muddy reservoirs of water is very appropriate. During the rainy season, all the waters of the river become muddy. But in the month of July, August, the autumnal season, when there is a slight rainfall, the muddy waters of the rivers all over the world become at once clear. In addition of some chemical, a small reservoir of water like that of a metropolitan waterworks tank can be cleared. But by such a tiny effort, it is not possible to clear up all the reservoirs of water like the rivers. What to speak of the ocean and what we're doing to the ocean these days. We have islands of debris, filth, dirty, contaminated plastic in the middle that are the size of Texas. And that was years ago. Who knows what it is now? So the addition of some chemical isn't going to change that. But a powerful, pure devotee of the Lord, however, can deliver not only his personal self, but also many others in his association. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared 532 years ago, and he broke open the storehouse of love of God, and he distributed it freely to everyone. Before that, it was secret. It was like, don't tell. You have to do this, you have to do that. You don't tell. This is a secret knowledge. And Lord Chaitanya immediately started sharing it with everyone. This is the highest thing, so why not give it to everyone freely? And that was Lord Chaitanya. He said, every town and village, Srila Bhaktivinoda village. So in other words, the cleansing of the polluted heart by any other method like the culture of empiric knowledge or mystic gymnastics can simply cleanse one's own heart. Like there are all these different processes, psychological and these kinds of psychiatric and different kinds of therapies, but that just takes care of ourselves. It doesn't really, we can't just by singing the names of God, purify anybody and everybody that we come in contact. And that's why Harinam Sankirtan is so wonderful. People are getting agyata sukriti, or without their even knowing, they're getting purified by hearing the names of God. That's the potency of the holy names that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Nitai, Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Nityananda are distributing freely this love of God through the chanting, singing, and dancing of the holy names of Krishna. So simple. And we're going into the Christmas period, and it's a time where we really want to think about maybe getting some books on the shelves of some of these folks, because they are like time bombs in the war against the illusion. They will go off when you least expect it. I had someone call me the other day on the phone, actually, the temple, and she was an old, a woman who had been very, knows all the old rock stars. She had been in all those circles, and now she's much older, but she had the Bhagavad Gita on her bookshelf. She was about to give it to someone. She started leafing through it. And it just came alive for her. She said it changed her life. Her situation right now is physically difficult because she's aged and she has many different conditions. So she's reading Bhagavad Gita. This bomb went off in her life in the most auspicious way, giving her hope, giving her love, giving her so much. So we don't know when we put these time-release bombs in different locations, when they're just by them being present in someone's home. There's auspiciousness, the fact that they've maintained the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam in their home is a great blessing. It's seva, it's service. So they're getting, and if we see the Lord comes and he sits on the lotus of our relationship, and that relationship is based on loving service. the mood of service that we come to offer to the Lord. So here it's saying devotional service to the Lord is so powerful that it can cleanse the heart of the people in general by the devotional service of the pure, empowered devotee, a true representative of the Lord like Narada, Sukadeva Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, the 6 Goswamis, and later Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we'll go on to say Srila Prabhupada, and many, many great devotees. They can deliver all the people by their empowered devotional service. So we regularly hearing, we can become like that. The Lord manifests brightly and greatly and hugely in our heart by regularly hearing. Because it's said that Paramatma is neutral. It's Bhagawan who's not neutral at all. You know, that we've got that Sat, Chit, and Ananda aspect, where the eternity aspect of the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of the Lord, and then the Chit Shakti, which is the knowledge Shakti, is localized, and it's in the heart of every living entity. The Lord, he actually guides the wandering even of the dogs and the cats. It's not like he's having this huge relationship. He's neutral, but he's there with that soul. He's accompanying that soul, even though they're not aware of him. But for the devotee, we become more and more aware of him. And that's why we're singing the Damodar prayers and we're hearing that, no, we don't even care for Paramatma. That's so, of course we see the Lord is in the heart of every living entity. He's the witness. So we want to treat everybody properly and nicely because the Lord is right there. That relationship that we have with that person is just like a reflection of our relationship with the Lord himself. So that it's expanding and growing, it's amplifying in our heart by hearing, regular hearing. And so by sincere efforts to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, one realizes his constitutional relationship with the Lord in the transcendental humor of servitude, friendship, parental affection, or conjugal love. And by such realization, one becomes situated at once in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is the lotus. Comes and he grows brighter within that sitting place. We're offering him the sitting place of our relationship. Not only were the pure devotees like Narada self-realized souls, but they were engaged in preaching work automatically by spiritual impetus. And thus they delivered more poor souls entangled in the material modes. They became so powerful because they sincerely followed the Bhagavatam principles by regularly hearing and worshiping. By such actions, the accumulated material lust become cleansed by the personal endeavor of the Lord within the heart. You can see Narada Muni, basically he's in all 4 bona fide Vaishnava lineages. He is number 3 in each one of the lineages. He's very, very prominent. He's there preaching Krishna consciousness, the eternal spaceman, traveling all over, speaking truth. And sometimes the truth is not palatable, but he doesn't mind because he just speaks truth and he's detached. When we are attached to the results, then because of the cloudiness and the muddiness of the agitation of our attachment, we don't have this truthful clarity. So we want to have truthful clarity. It's so important. And that clarity is that clear vision to be able to actually see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord is always within the heart of the living being, but he becomes manifested by one's devotional service. So the bigger the devotee, the more the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why all of us, each and every single one of Prabhupada's disciples, before we actually met him in person, we imagined him to be huge. Because just, you could see pictures of him. There was this oceanic presence. And even when he came, even he was about the same height as I was, but his effulgence, his whole influence was so big. His smile, like there's in Trafalgar Square, in England, when he began to dance at the Rath Yatra, the bobbies, the police men were nervous because but Srila Prabhupada was absolutely ecstatic because there in England, the very place that had those persons who had oppressed India, Prabhupada was taking over in a sense. He was sharing Krishna with everyone. There's a real interesting connection between England and India. There are people who take birth as Indians and then English. They go back and forth, and you have to be careful. We want to focus totally on being Prabhupads and Krishnas so that we don't get distracted by this attachment. I know myself, I was told once that I was a man, a Bengali man, and I got a Western, an English wife. And whoops, this is what happened. Now I am an English woman, so it's like attachment is the enemy. And I know from my personal self, I'm probably one of the most attached people I know. So I have to constantly drag that mind back to Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Why? Because of that spiritual impetus that it talks about in this verse. He is all attractive. He is more attractive than all of our attachments put together. So gradually, by regularly hearing of Bhagavatam, by regularly chanting, these dirty, muddy things in the heart gradually wash away. And if I can do it, then anybody can do it. I'm sure of it, because I never met anybody that was more attached than me. Honestly, I enjoy. The whole idea of giving up pleasure was completely against my nature. But fortunately, we are Anandamaya Vyasa. We are pleasure seeking. Why? Because Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. And if you follow that all the way back to the most attractive, Krishna is the most attractive. So we give up the lower attachments for something better. It's not like you do without. You trade up. We're continuously trading something, a lower thing, for something that's far more auspicious, far more uplifting, far more enlivening. But those in the lower modes of nature, they actually have a taste for these lower things. And the only way out of that is by hearing and chanting and regularly reciting Bhagavatam, regularly hearing. And the pretty thing that we saw earlier, talking about, I guess, or it may be coming up, that with Vishwanath Chakravarti, he says that when one is hearing and chanting, it is understood he is remembering. Because he's remembering to hear and chant. So it's like, what comes first? It's Krishna's mercy, all of it. But we start with someone's chanting somewhere. So then you hear that, and then maybe you get to join into that chanting. That's why the beauty of this Harinam Sankirtan is so important, because it has to start somewhere. Somebody like Prabhupada in Tompkins Square Park with his kartals chanting Hare Krishna. And what did he do? I was just watching a little video this morning, and that Professor Hopkins, he was saying, if you look at what Prabhupada did in his lifetime, number one, he was much progressed in his life. He was just turning 70 as he was coming across the ocean. If you look at the others like Mohammed and Jesus, and you compare their religions and how they came and they spread their religions, they did it amongst their people, and they did it amongst their peers, like people of their age bracket. Prabhupada came across the ocean to people that didn't speak the language, that had no cultural reference to where he had to teach them not only how to think, how to cook, how to eat, how to dress, how to everything. Prabhupada, he made a culture and a religion. It wasn't just talking about God to his friends, amongst the people that were his culture. He literally transplanted something. So, and they were much younger. They were in their prime. Prabhupada did his life, studied Krishna consciousness, and then he came to the West at 70. I'm not even 70. It's like, whoa. That's, the older I get, the more amazed I am at how Prabhupada did this at this particular time. With no money, no nothing. And so if you look at all the other prophets and you compare this wasn't me saying, this was this professor. He was saying, and if you look at the history of those faiths, Muhammad, Islam, and Christianity, at this point right here, at the 50-year point, it was floundering. It was going through a really hard time. And actually, Krishna consciousness all over the world is booming. Even though it's COVID and there is some struggle going on, like in India, it's huge, gigantic. Adi's about to go there, so I'm jealous. Hare Krishna. Okay, so purification of the heart by culture of knowledge or mystic yoga may be all right for the time being for an individual person, but it is like cleansing of a small quantity of stagnant water by chemical process. I was a lifeguard, and we used to throw some chlorine in the pool. Or at the end, when we had a pool in our backyard in New Jersey, and all winter it would stay, stagnant with the cover on it. You'd take it off, and it was filled with leaves and just disgusting, and you'd throw a bunch of chlorine in it, and it was called shocking it. It would just clear up, and it would just pretty much evaporate all the icky stuff. We'd have to vacuum out the sediments. But it's still, with a little bit of encouragement, it'll go rank again. So you have to continue to put in the chemicals. It's like an artificial, people, they take some intoxication and they say they're decalcifying their pineal gland artificially by some chemical. But is it permanent? Like Neem Karoli Baba said, you can go there, but you can't stay. You can't. It's not an eternal thing. You take some little tiny glimpse at something. The purificatory process is not permanent in that regard. It's artificially a tiny, tiny bit of understanding, but it isn't for real. It will not continue, because unless one is fully realized by hearing and developing their relationship with Krishna, then that is when, then the process is complete. So it's saying here, such clarification of water may stand for the time being, and the sediments will settle down, but you just take that and you just shake it. By slight agitation, everything becomes muddy again. So we're just hearing about that yogi that was meditating under the water, and he saw some fish copulating, and he became extremely agitated. So he had the power to be able to hold his breath and do the meditation under the water, but he didn't have the power to control his senses 100%. But the idea is that devotional service to the Lord is the only method of cleansing the heart for good. This is a permanent process. It's explained that there's no loss and no diminution by becoming advanced. Even you may make a mistake, still you don't lose your advancement. Whereas other methods may be superficially good for the time being, there is a risk of becoming muddy again due to the agitation of the mind. Devotional service to the Lord, with specific attention for hearing Srimad Bhagawatam regularly and always, is the best recommended method for the liberation from the clutches of illusion. Why? Because you're meditating on the Lord's pastimes. Whatever your consciousness is, at the time of death, you will attain that state of being without fail. So if your consciousness is on Krishna, you're go to Krishna. So let's just be sharing about what Krishna is doing, what pastimes he is taking part in. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the Lord enters the heart of the devotee who with faith continually hears and chants about the Lord's activities. Effort in remembering Krishna is not necessary. We just do. We just remember Krishna. For the devotees who hear and chant, even without great effort, the Lord spontaneously enters into the heart. Hearing and chanting here indicates remembering. So by associating with devotees, devotees are always reminding us of Krishna. You know, I remember I was going to be doing a radio show on vegetarian protein, and I was going to the library in New York, and I was wearing regular clothes, and as I was going in, there was a devotee coming out with shaved head and neck beads, you know, so I immediately, I said, Hare Krishna, you know, that, and it was sort of winterish, so you couldn't see my beads or anything like that, but I could immediately understand this is a devotee. They reminded me of Krishna. So that's the thing, that devotees, by their presence, they remind us of Krishna. And in verse 5, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Krishna entering the lotus of the heart through the ears of the devotees washes away all the contamination until it is completely pure, like the pools of water in the autumn season. Krishna, in the form of topics, enters the lotus of the heart, Bhava Saroruham, through the ears. Though Paramatma is always situated in the heart, he is neutral. This, and that was why it says in, you know, because sometimes I get confused. I was reading Damodar's document. It says, I don't want liberation, and I'm not interested in Paramatma. Why not Paramatma? Well, because he's neutral. We need somebody who's going to reciprocate, maybe come 10 steps to us, to our one. Somebody who, Krishna, all attractive, magnetically attracted. Krishna is that, Bhagawan Sri Krishna. This implies that Krishna entering through the ears attaches the jiva to himself. Bhava indicates relationships like dasya and sakya, servitude and friendship. When you have a friend, when you care about someone, you want them to be happy, so you automatically want to serve them. You want to do something to make sure that they remain healthy. So thus the Bhava Saroruham can also mean the lotus of various sentiments for the Lord. Krishna washes away the faults, shamalam, such as lust and anger. So we have these sinful things within us. There's greed and envy and fear and gluttony and lust and sloth and anger, pride and deceit. All of these anartas, unwanted things, these faults, they will become purified out of us because we have no attachment. We don't have to fake anything. We just are just clear and pure. Simple. So simple that, like Sukadeva Goswami, he was so simple, he was sky clad. He didn't have to, and the interesting thing is, the women didn't worry about it. They were so innocent. The women and children, they didn't think anything of it. Now, if some other nudist person comes along, you know they're going to be, it's a whole different mood. But Sukadeva Goswami, because he was pure, then he was so pure and so simple that he had no attachment, whether he was born, whether he was not born, whether he wore clothes, whether he didn't wear clothes, where he was situated, where he went, he just wandered about until someone came with the perfect questions. He had the perfect answers. Continuing, it says, but this is not so remarkable because Jnana and Yoga can do this also. By mixing a substance in a jar of water, that water alone is purified, but not all the water in rivers or ponds. They don't all get purified, only the water in that little container gets purified. The contamination also remains in the jar and is not completely destroyed. By shaking the jar, the dirt again becomes disturbed. Jnana and Yoga purify some people, but not all, and even then not completely. They purify the heart to some degree, it is said. Yamadibir yoga pata kamaloba hato muhu mukunda sevaya yad vat tatatma dana saham yati. The Atma constantly afflicted by lust and greed. Jai Shri Shri Panchatattva ki Jai. The Atma constantly afflicted by lust and greed will not be satisfied by Astanga Yoga or other paths as much as by direct service to Mukunda. Mukunda is liberation. In Srimad Bhagawatam 1.6.35, Krishna says, but Krishna, just by entering, purifies everything, and no impurities will remain. He is, by his presence, like the sunshine, it purifies everything. Nothing can stay contaminated in the presence of bright sun.
Who's Mukunda?
Mukunda, he's the granter of liberation. So what I wanted to do at this particular point is look at, we've been studying second canto, and second canto by doing the individual study day to day to day is so nice, but seeing how second canto has the least number of chapters of all of the cantos in Bhagavad, it has 10. And so we're at chapter 8, so we only have 2 more chapters to go. So it's a good time to take a look back to see where we've been in this canto. This canto is cosmic manifestation. It's all about this amazing material manifestation. It's just fascinating to see how even the material manifestation is inconceivable. What to speak of the spiritual manifestation of Krishna? And in the first chapter, it's the first step in God realization, and it's considered when you don't know anything at all, nothing at all, or just starting the process of yoga, start to see the Krishna in everything and see the universal form of the Lord. Start to meditate on the Virata Rup, that universal form of the Lord. In the second chapter, it's about the Lord in the heart, Paramatma. So Paramatma, you start to recognize God is in every atom, in every person. So one starts to relate with Paramatma. There's a development of consciousness that's taking place within the second canto. And the third chapter is pure devotional service, the change of heart. That begins to awaken by developing a relationship with Paramatma. I mean, I remember when I was just a new devotee, and I had a cat that used to always catch birds. I know I've told you this before, but that disturbed me very much. We put a bell on the cat so maybe it would make noise so the bird would fly away, but somehow she kept catching birds. So I came home and the cat had a bird. So I was like, oh no, I know if I try to stop that, the cat will just kill the bird. So I just started to singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And amazing, the bird flew out of the grasp of the cat. The cat let that bird go. All I needed to do was sing the names of Krishna. So even that cat had a change of heart. Even just the holy name of the Lord present even around a cat, and his nature was to kill that bird, he let the bird go. So I, as a new devotee, I went, wow, just see. And that helped my heart change too. So in the chapter 4 in Bhagavatam, we see that about the process of creation, all the different universes that are within just this universe. There's so many universes coming out of the body of the Lord. Every time he breathes, bubbles of universes come out in every single atom, every single cell of the Lord's body. And in each universe, there's so many planetary systems. So we begin to understand, just as he exhales, everything comes into manifestation. And when he inhales, it goes back into him. So it's an amazing process. And in chapter 5, we also see that the Lord is the cause of all causes. From him, everything emanate. Everything is emanating from the Lord. So we're developing a mood of just, wow, Krishna is just so amazing. He's inconceivable. He's astounding. There's one, learned from the Sanskrit professor, that little shlok that was Ascharya Karmani, that Krishna's activities are astounding. Karmani, Ascharya is like astounding. And Ascharya is we need to be unflinching, because we're understanding, our faith is unflinching. We will not become bewildered by the external nature. No matter what comes at us, we understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the Purusha. And all of these illusions that are scary things might come. But if we just say the names of Krishna, all of it will be defeated. Nothing can stand in the face of Krishna. So in chapter 6, it's Purusha Sukta confirmed, and we're looking back at how everything is part of the body of the Lord. It's again, it's very similar to the earlier chapter, the Virata Roop. And then the next chapter 7, we're looking at the incarnations of the Lord and how he comes himself for so many purposes, to save the earth from drowning because a demon was drilling holes. He comes as Varaha. He comes to deliver the nectar of immortality as Dhanvantari. He comes with all these functions, and in every case to save us. So you see that not only is he coming to save us, but in the Krishna, in his manifestation of Krishna, he comes to dance with us. Not only save us, now that relationship is becoming more and more developed. So in chapter 8, this is where we are right now. We're in the very beginning of chapter 8. And so Maharaj Parishit is asking those perfect questions to Sukadeva Goswami. And Sukadeva Goswami is happily just enlightening Maharaj Parishit with the answers. And very shortly, Maharaj Parishit is going to die, but he gave his life from womb to the end, always looking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? One of his nicknames is the examiner, because he examined, are you Krishna? Where is Krishna? That was his whole life, was spent looking for Krishna, hearing about Krishna, serving Krishna, protecting those so that they could continue to worship Krishna. He took care of, he was trying to stop the personality of Kali from coming in too heavy and fast, very cruel, hurting the cow. Maharaj Parishit was always the bull of religiosity, was always protecting mankind. He was a great king. So he was qualified, and he had the perfect questions to ask Sukadeva Goswami. Questions? The one thing I wanted to say is Chintamani Dham, that which is spiritual, is completely made of the holy name of Krishna. When we were visiting Vrindavan, Bhagaji, Srila Prabhupada's very, very good friend, was saying that if you got an atomic microscope and you looked at a grain of Raj, it will say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chintamani is touchstone. It is whatever everything turns to something so beautiful, turns to gold. Chintamani Dham, it is a touchstone. And Chintamani is the spiritual world. It's Vrindavan, it's Mathura. This is the Vraj, the pastime places of Krishna. It is made up of the chanting of the name of Krishna. Krishna and his name are non-different. So if we don't have Bhagavatam, let's just keep chanting Hare Krishna. And if we have Bhagavatam, let's keep sharing the pastimes of Krishna and the sound of his flute. So we'll all go back to Godhead together. Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.